In this video, we're going to be answering your questions and sharing some important tips on helping you how to deal with some of the current manhood issues in your life as a man. And we're starting right now. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to Real Men Rising YouTube channel. I'm your host, Walter Strong, where we share helpful tips to inspire men like yourself to lead by love and integrity in your home. And if you're new here tonight, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live. And if you're watching the replay of this video, in the comments section, give me a hashtag Team Replay. And so we're excited tonight. We're going to be taking and answering your questions. We're going to be talking about some important tips on helping you deal with some of the current manhood issues that you're dealing with your life, what I'm dealing in my life. We're taking the gloves off tonight. Manhood one-on-one, real talk. And so if you're in the chat, let me know. Give me a hashtag man talk, hashtag man talk. So without further ado, let's get into the content. And as I said, if you have questions, I want you to put your questions in the chat so we can answer your questions, respond to your comments that you are dealing with in your life as a man. But before we get into the questions, as we get into this manhood one-on-one, taking the gloves off, I want to share a little content with you and set the discussion tonight for what we're talking about. All right, so let's get started here. The first thing that I want to discuss and cover, if I can get my presentation set up. There we go. The first thing that I want to talk about tonight, as you're joining me in the chat, I want to talk about, first of all, the state of manhood. You know how every year in the beginning of somewhere between January and February, the president of the United States, in this particular time, President Joe Biden is the president, he has what's called the State of the Union. The State of the Union is to kind of express to the country what our current issues are at the moment as a nation. And not only does he talk about what the current issues are that we're dealing with as a nation, but he also kind of lays out what he feels is the strategy for us to move forward. And so tonight, as we answer your questions and as we take the gloves off, I want to first start with the state of manhood. What is the state of men today across this nation? Well, some of the things that me and you are seeing throughout this nation, throughout our states, throughout our towns, and through our cities, men are silently frustrated. They're silently frustrated in their lives, in their homes, in their marriages. They're silently frustrated on the job. They're dealing with silent frustration. They're putting a smile on, letting the next person know that I'm good, I'm blessed, I'm okay. But the truth of the matter is a mask is on their face that they're trying to keep on because they're silently frustrated. Not only are men in their lives, young and old, are silently frustrated, but young men and old men are dealing with misplaced aggression. Misplaced aggression. Have you ever had those times in your life where the frustration boiled like a tea kettle to the point where it got so hot that the tea kettle began to whistle? And it whistled to the point where the aggression came out at the wrong person. The aggression came out to the persons or the people who were close to us that we did not intend it to come out to. Misplaced aggression. Not only are men dealing with silent frustration, misplaced aggression, but we're dealing with unresolved pain. Unresolved pain Sometimes that can go as far as our childhood because we were told by our fathers, we were told by a male figure to, suck it up. You're going to be a man one day. You got to learn how to take pain. But learning to take pain doesn't mean to let pain be unresolved. Having unresolved pain is a result of just trying to tolerate and put up with it. But if, as men, instead of us dealing with it, confronting it, we're having unresolved pain. Along with unresolved pain comes a feeling and being in a place of filled with a life of brokenness, broken dreams, broken hearts, broken marriages, broken relationships. We feel broken as men. We had expectations of how we thought our lives would be, only to live just a little bit and to be in a place of feeling stuck and feeling broken. And my last point is, we're in a state of manhood where men today don't have a vision for their lives. We're living in a social media society, a microwave society where we become a prisoner of the moment, a prisoner of the moment of who tweeted us, a prisoner of the moment of who texted us, a prisoner of the moment of what notification that we got on either Facebook X or Instagram. We've become a prisoner of our moment, having no vision for tomorrow and a vision that will help benefit and bless others. So these are just a few things that we're dealing with as men in the state of manhood. If you're in the chat this evening, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And so as a result of this state of manhood, we have questions. You have questions. You wouldn't have come tonight if you didn't have questions about current issues that you're dealing with in your life. What are some examples of current issues that men are dealing with that unfortunately we see on the 6 and the 10 o'clock news? Well, some of the issues that we see men dealing with is the current issue of the mental health crisis. This nation is in the midst of a mental health crisis. And this is not to say that women and children are not affected by it, but when you look primarily, men are in the forefront of this mental health crisis. And we're living in a time now where it's encouraged for men and women to talk to someone, to sit down with someone and to share about the pain and the drama that we're going with. But we as men, we're macho, we've got it all together. We don't want to come off the field when we take a hit, what gives us a concussion. And as a result, there's a mental health crisis. And how does that mental health manifest itself? Sometimes it manifests itself in a very extreme and weird ways where men are walking out in public before women and children, and they're exposing themselves. I told you we're going to take the gloves off tonight. I told you we're going to take the gloves off tonight. Not only mental health crisis, but we're seeing school shootings. And this is unfortunately not new, but it's happening over and over because of the misplaced aggression, the silent frustration. Not only are older men dealing with it, but our young men are dealing with it. Our young men are dealing with it. And so as a result, you have shootings like we're in Georgia or in Florida or Connecticut. You remember when Columbine happened? And not only are we seeing a mental health crisis and you're seeing school shootings, but men are wrestling and dealing with harmful addictions like drug and alcohol, where men are getting behind the wheel of a car and driving. Instead of taking an Uber and let someone take them home, they get behind the wheel and they crash into another vehicle, taking someone's life. They get behind the wheel and now they're driving the wrong way, hitting someone head on and killing them. We're talking about current issues that we're dealing with as men. We're talking about the state of manhood. Tonight, we have questions. We need to talk about how can we get answers for the questions. So harmful addictions such as drug and alcohol. And what about porn addiction? What about porn addiction? Something like Pornhub, where porn has become so available to us through internet pornography. The state of manhood, current issues that we have questions about. Failed marriages and absentee fathers. What's your issue as a man? If you're in the chat this evening, what's your issue? Put your issue in the chat. And if you say, well, Walter, it's too, just put in the chat, I got an issue. Just put in the chat, I got an issue. You don't want to put the issue down? Excuse me. Put, I got an issue. Because guess what? I got issues too. But the question is, are we putting ourselves in the place as men to get our questions and our issues addressed? And so, in sharing the state of manhood, in sharing our current issues, just on some that I've touched on, there's so many more. There's so many more. How do we get answers to the questions that we have? How do we get solutions as men to the problems that we have? How do we deal with it? Well, let me share with you the truth and the principle of the broken crayons. As men, if we are in a place of life where we feel broken with all these issues, I think the principle and the truth of broken crayons can reveal some truth and hope to us that we can move forward as men so that we can become great husbands, faithful and devoted fathers, and faithful sons to our parents and our family members. Here's the principle and some of the things that me and you can take from broken crayons. One, when crayons are first put out and available to teachers and children, in particular, young children, they're in a brand new box, whether if it's a brand new box of 8 crayons, 16 crayons, or 64 crayons. They're in a brand new box. But over time, as they're being used, I want you to hear me now, they get put into containers of plastic bags and containers of baskets because they've been used and they're worn. Have you ever felt like life has used you up and you feel like you've been worn out, that you've been placed in conditions that is not as favorable because you've gone through some things in life? Because the crayons that are brand new, they've not gone through anything. You know, I heard a story one time about broken crayons that when children sit down together with other children and they want to start coloring, sometimes 1 or 2 children will want to go and get their brand new crayons that were bought for the purpose to use for school for the next school semester, since we're in back to school. And the adult has to say to them, no, use the basket of broken crayons. Those crayons are for school. Those crayons are for you when you go to school. And so when you get and see the broken crayons, the paper has been torn off of them. The paper sometimes has been completely removed or torn or ripped. The crayons have been broken or chipped. Sometimes even the broken crayons, because of them being so close to, because when you don't have the paper around them and they've been ripped, one color of red or orange will mark up against a darker color like a blue or red or black. And so as a result, they're broken. But here's the principle. Whether if they're broken or chipped, been rubbed on, and touched. In the hands of children, they can take those broken crayons and still color. We need to understand that if we would humble ourselves as men under the mighty hand of God, I told you I was taking the gloves off tonight, and turn our brokenness and our pain and put it in his hand, he can help us to start coloring again, to start living again, to start dreaming again. Though we are broken, though we are chipped, though we've been touched in ways as men in our childhood that we should not have been touched, though we have touched someone that we should not have touched in the way, we can still color. We need to grasp hold of the principle of broken crayons. So no matter if we're chipped, if we're broken, it doesn't matter. If you're a black crayon, a white crayon, an orange crayon, a red crayon, a yellow crayon, it doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate. Brokenness affects all men. You chipped. You got a chip on your shoulder. You're angry. You're dealing with unresolved issues and unresolved pain. You got a chip on your shoulder. And you're thinking, I can't color anymore. But if you would humble yourself in the hands of God, you will come to understand that broken crayons can still color. And in the hands of little children, not only do they still color, in their minds, when they are done with coloring whatever that they're done coloring with, they've created their greatest masterpiece. Not only can you still color, you can still live and be a man that God has called you to be. You understanding your identity of who you are. You understanding, still coloring, that you have a purpose for your life, that you have a vision for your life. If you would humble yourself in the hands of God, God will create a great masterpiece out of your life, despite what your relationship was with your father, despite what the relationship was with your his father. If your father wasn't there in your life and now you having children, you having issues with your daughter or your son, you can still color and have a great masterpiece of a wonderful relationship that can be restored with your children, that can be restored with your spouse, your wife. But you got to put yourself in a place where you say, God, I am at the end of my rope and I'm sick and tired and I feel broken and I need you to help me turn my life around. You know how we get as men when we get in trouble with the law and we get locked up and we give God the prayer. God, if you get me out of this situation, if you help me turn my life around, I'll get my life right and I'll go to church. And the situations works out in our favor and we get out. And we're not staring down the road, the pathway of 5 to 10 years in prison. But what do? We get ourselves in trouble again. Because we're dependent upon ourselves. We're taught as men to stand on your own feet, stand and be independent on your own. But yet we're broken. We're broken and we don't know how to communicate and talk to a woman. We know how to communicate and talk to a woman and get in her pants, but we don't know how to communicate and talk to a woman and have a real relationship with her. I told you I'm taking the gloves off tonight. I'm taking the gloves off tonight. Hey, if you're getting great value, let me do this right quick. Okay. We talked about issues. We talked about the broken crayon. Okay. If you're getting great value out of this discussion on the state of manhood and the current issues that we need to get answers for without questions, click that like button for me. Give me a thumbs up. If this is connecting with you, you're watching me live or you're watching me on the replay, give me a thumbs up. Share this. If you're watching me on mobile, hit that share button and share this on your social media platform with another man. If you're watching this on desktop, if you're watching me on television, share this with another man. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you want to, as a man, deal with these questions and these issues, and you want to learn how to lead by love and integrity in your home as a man, as a husband or a father, subscribe to the channel. All right. So I said that. Here's my question. In all these states of the manhood that we talked about, what is your state of manhood right now? What is the current issue in your life right now? And how are you dealing with this so that your life can start coloring again, so that you can start bringing and putting forth a masterpiece that will not only benefit you, but will benefit your children and your children's children, that will impact and change the generations after you. As men, we're taught about leaving a legacy. Leaving a legacy is not just about leaving money. Leaving a legacy is not just about leaving stuff. Leaving a legacy is not just about leaving a home that you worked so hard for to pay off, only when you get in the ground 6 feet under and your children are not properly prepared and they lose the home to taxes. They spend all the life insurance money, and now everything you work for is gone. Leaving a legacy is about having a credible and respectable name that you can pass on to your children through the integrity that you demonstrate when people are looking and when they're not looking. Leaving a legacy is about you establishing yourself as a father. And despite how your relationship with your father was, because your father could maybe only deposit so much into your life, because if you wanted more from him, it would have overdrawn and bankrupt him. But because you see how your relationship with your father is, you now have a chance to have a better relationship. What legacy are you leaving in you being present in your son's life? What legacy are you leaving in you being present in your daughter's or your children's life? These are questions that we're here to talk about tonight. So that's my content. That's my content right there. So what I want to do, I told you, we talked about tips. Now let's answer your questions. Let's answer your questions. You're in the chat tonight watching me live. If you got questions, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from, and make sure I got my chat right. Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. Let me know where you're watching me from, and let me know what question you have. Let's talk about this. You know, and I thought about when I put this live stream together, I said, should I put a link into the chat where I can allow you to come on and we can talk online together? I said, no, let's take baby steps here. Let's do a live stream with the chat. But ultimately, as we do more live streams like this, if you got a functional camera and you got good lighting and good audio, I'll bring you on so we can talk about these questions. I had a conversation with my grandmother this evening who gave me a call, a surprise call, just to kind of check on me. And she was asking me, hey, I thought you were coming to an event that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks. And I shared with her why I was not able to make it. But the simple fact that my grandmother is in her late 70s, she didn't think it robbery to give me a call and just to check on me. When is the last time you picked up the phone and called your son? When is the last time you picked up your phone and called your daughter? When was the last time you picked up the phone and called your wife instead of texting people, emailing people, being on Facebook? We've lost the whole art of communication because of social media. I digress. Your questions. What questions do you have? What questions do you have? You know, in the last 5 minutes that we're here live, because your time is important. My time is important. We want to be respectful to the replay. What questions do you have? And if we can't get the answer for you, together, let's get the answer. As men, we need to open up and talk. As men, we got to deal with this silent frustration. We got to deal with this misplaced aggression and unresolved pain that we're dealing with. The unresolved pain that we're dealing with could be because of an inappropriate relationship that we may have had with someone when we were young. And now we can't have a healed and healthy relationship with the woman that we love. And as a result, we're on not only our first or second marriage, now we're on a third marriage because of unresolved issues and unresolved pain. But if we would just grab hold of the principle and the truth of broken crayons can still color, they can create their greatest masterpieces in the hands of little children. If we would just humble ourselves, you do know that the Bible says to humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and that he would exalt you in due time. All through the Bible, it's talk about humility. Solomon didn't become the wisest man and the richest man because of who his father was, being David. He wanted wisdom how to lead his nation in the Old Testament, because he was willing to humble himself to admit he didn't know everything and he needed God's help. And as a result, the things that he did not ask for, God gave it to him. As men, we have to humble ourselves and admit that we don't got it all together. Admit that we are in pain. We have to admit that we are dealing with some misplaced aggression and anger, and say, I need help to start coloring again. Well, I see there are no questions, but the simple fact that you joined me tonight here live, and especially those here on the replay, I pray you got value. I pray you got value tonight out of what we shared. And if you have a question on the replay, put it in the comment section. Join the conversation in the comment section, and let's have a discussion here. And we're going to keep this conversation going until your life and my life starts coloring again and starts producing a masterpiece that not only blesses your life and my life, but blesses our generations following us. Hey, I appreciate you checking this out. When you get a chance, check out the Real Men Rising YouTube channel, where we have some great content. If you're in a place in your life where you feel like you're just ready to throw in the towel and give up because life has gotten hard, you'll find a video called Don't Quit. If you're at a place right now where you feel that you're burnt out on the job, burnt out in your relationships, we got a video on how to overcome burnout and so much more. So with that said, we'll see you on the next live stream. God bless.